Hey guys, this is John here in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Monday, November 11th, 2024. And today, before we get into Tarzan number 7, we have conflicted cards. This is deck number 1. Today's card's a hard one, the Queen of Hearts. Today's card is a variation on a couple of the ones we've had over the last couple days, except it's more personal. I think yesterday's was one of your children is starved to death because a neighbor wouldn't share the food they had. This one is, so instead of your child suffering because a neighbor wouldn't share, this is a variation on the exact same thing. You have diabetes and a neighbor has insulin and they won't share, and you can't openly kill them and get away with it. This is a weird thing. It says you can't murder them, but you can assassinate them. So I guess the person who wrote this doesn't sees open murder. This is written by a Jew. I'm thinking about this right now as I'm reading it. They see assassination as okay because no one knows it was you. Whereas if you just openly beat them up and take the insulin, the community will ostracize you. That's a lot about what I'm going to complain about later after the comic, but I don't want to start there. I don't want to live in hate. So we are going to focus on Tarzan Lord of the Jungle number 7, and this is a great comic book. This one, this is a good advice for me. I've been pushing myself on the writing lately. Last night I did 3 chapters, today I did a chapter, and today I did another half of a chapter. Or what would be a full chapter, it would be 4 chapters since the last time I did one of these. And this 4th one, I'm advancing the story too far. And I think Roy Thomas was coming up against something similar on his own, or John Buscema decided that he wanted to take a step back from the story that they had been telling for the last 6 issues, which the last issue introduced a new power dynamic, a new power group, the Abyssinians, who are a large army in the area and have captured Jane and Mugabe. So you have 4 or 5 different power groups. You have all the animals of the jungle. You have Tarzan. You have Ahmed Zek. You have Albert Werper. The Abyssinians. Mugabe, even though he's a prisoner. That's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot of moving parts. And in this one, Roy Thomas and John Buscema put all of that on pause. Tarzan has amnesia, which is another moving part that makes this a little more complicated. He was struck in the head a few issues ago by a falling rock. And here he is lying with 2 dead apes who were shot by the Abyssinians, who are holding Jane captive and Mugabe captive. Jane and Mugabe don't know that Tarzan has amnesia. And here we get a 1-page montage where we play catch up, and Roy Thomas and John Buscema tell us everything that's going on. And we get the rest of the issue is a flashback story where Tarzan is just out living his best life as a jungle boy right before he meets Jane, while he's dealing with some tribal problems with the Kerchak tribe, that's his apes. So there's some power structure problems there. And there is this beautiful story. This is what is so great about this. There's no politics in this. This is amazing. I'm so glad that this is the one we're doing right now, considering everything else I've been wrapped up in today. This story is taking a break from all your troubles and finding a place where everyone knows your name. So this is the best. This is the best. This is exactly what I needed today. This is why I love comics. This is why people love sitcoms. This is why people love TV. This story, Tarzan they do with Tarzan what we all do with our day. Tarzan's unconscious. He's not having a dream. He's indulging in a memory, and we're experiencing it. Tarzan is out in the jungle pondering the difference between the sun and moon. And they have names, and I don't remember them. It's like Bala and it's not Kerchak, it's something like that. I could hit pause and look them up. So the moon is called Goro, and the sun is called Kudu. And Tarzan is pondering, since he has no religious structures, no scientific structures to explain the sun and moon, he is pondering the tribal stories that he's grown up with from the apes. And he's thinking about the difference in the colors, the difference in the light. And here he is watching one of the Bogani tribes. I think they're the Bogani. Maybe the Bogani are the apes. I'm going to have to look that up again too. So here Tarzan is watching the Gomangani. That's the black tribes. That's what they're called. And he's watching how they set up a, basically a border of thorns, and then they sit around the campfire. And Tarzan reasons that the sun and moon must be similar to this. And so one of the members of the tribe, so there's a lot of animals in the forest watching the Gomangani, and they see them as prey. And Tarzan reasons that the moon must be similar. And one of the blacks inside the circle throws a flaming brand out at the animals and drives them away. But then one of the lions actually braves the fire, the circle of thorns and the fire spears, and attacks the tribe anyhow, and ends up carrying off one of the members. One of the members jumps out of it. Actually, most of the tribesmen get scared and run out, and they chase one of them down and kill him. And the others are sort of huddled together. And Tarzan's watching all this. He's kind of putting things together from it. So he sees the two lions kill the one black guy, and the black guy who had thrown the spears in the beginning actually is run off as well. And the rest of them are safe. And Tarzan takes that and applies that to the story of the sun and moon, and that the stars are like predators, and that the moon understands that it's being hunted, and that one of the lions will eventually attack the moon. And Tarzan wakes up one of the apes in his tribe when he comes to this realization, and tells him this story this realization that he's come up with, and that he sees this comet, and he believes that the moon must be attacking all the lions and the hyenas and the different predators that wait outside the fire that is the sun, right? And of course, the other apes think this is crazy, and they're tired of Tarzan and his big ideas, and they have a plot to kill him. Now, there's this ape here, Gorg, who Tarzan had rescued him, and he says, anyone who tries to kill Tarzan is going to have to do it over my dead body. And if you want to kill him, you better kill me first, because Tarzan and me are friends. And Tarzan is out there making friends with all of the animals in the forest. He's friends with the elephant, which the apes don't understand. He's friends occasionally with the lions, and he knows how to operate in the forest. But also, here's the other thing, like the Tarzan cartoon, they're not going to show this guy being killed by lions. Like, this is way closer to the novels. The novels were really brutal. And I was thinking about this earlier too. Like, what does the Tarzan comic lack that the Conan comic doesn't? Well, clearly it's language and interaction with other members of the same sort of, tribe, for lack of a better term. We had the Tarzan and Jane thing, but you have all these animals who can kind of talk, who can really talk, but they're just animals. They're not wizard animals. I don't know what I was thinking, but it struck me that Tarzan is talking to all these animals. They are communicating the same way you communicate with your pets. You know exactly what they want. They can tell you without words. And so there is this huge wealth of other characters. Only, the apes are semi-interchangeable. It's hard to put identification into these tribe members, even though Tarzan rescued this one's life, right? And his children, from what I remember. This is also, this next bit is really interesting. So here, down at the bottom of this page, a lone warrior wanders out, a lone Gormangani warrior. This is the one who had thrown the flaming brands out of the fire and driven off the lions and the jackals the night before, or a few hours before. And he wanders into the Kerchak tribe's clearing. And the apes are watching, and they see him out there alone, and one of them decides to attack him. And when one of them goes, they all go. So they all go down to attack this Gormangani, this black tribesman, who had shown courage against the lions and the hyenas. And it was because of his courage, his flaming fire, that Tarzan had been able to put all those thoughts to the sun and the moon and the celestial, objects going around. There's a word for them. And so Tarzan decides to go down and defend this guy from his tribe, and this is just the excuse they need to attack Tarzan, who they really want to kill anyhow. And then Garg, God, I gotta look up his name again. Tog challenges the rest of the Kerchak tribe. Gunto is the one leading the murder attempt on Tarzan. And he gets in Tarzan's face and said, "There's more of us than you. We can kill all of you." Tarzan says, "Well, let's have at it." And as they start to fight, Tarzan hears Tantor, and he calls him. And Tantor comes into the clearing and drives the apes out. So Tarzan uses his friendship with the elephant as a tool to solve the problems, the dominance problems in his tribe. And this is the sort of thing that the monkeys in his tribe resent, because they do not call on aid from the other animals of the jungle. Tarzan has established relationships with all the animals of the jungle. Now, if you don't think this is possible, if you don't think that humans can have relationships with animals, you go out to any farm and watch how those domesticated cattle treat the owner when he comes out to feed them. They're his best friend, and they've grown up together. That's just how it is with domesticated animals. And all animals respect empathy. Empathy predates language. It's present in all mammals. So that's how you get things like this. That's how you get children who are raised by wolves for like 2 or 3 years when they're abandoned in the forest. It's happened. It's happened in real life. It doesn't happen for their whole lives. But that's the history of the world. Living with animals is the history of mankind. We just can't seem to live with each other. And that's what we're going to talk about as soon as this is over. And we're getting to the end now. So again, this is before Tarzan has met Jane. And this fight between Tog and Gunto has really kind of hurt Tarzan's feelings, for lack of a better term. There's no way to describe it. He's not the alpha of this group. He's a sigma. The alpha of the groups are Tog and Gunto, or the other one. I don't remember the other guy's name that Tarzan fought with a long time ago. But here at the end of this, Tarzan from the back of Tantor tells his tribe that he's leaving them. And he's going to live down in his he has some word for it. Not nest. So yeah, Tarzan tells the monkeys of his tribe that he's leaving, and that he's going to live in his lair down by the big water. And the monkeys are pissed, and Tog picks a fight and kills Gunto within less than a month, because he's mad that Tarzan's been driven out of the tribe. So think about that. That's pretty significant. Tarzan knows he's not a member of this tribe. He knows he doesn't have a place to rule the ape tribe, so he leaves. And now these apes are frustrated. After a while, most of them have forgotten about Tarzan, until this happens, where Numa, the lion, jumps over the wall of thorns and tries to eat the moon. There's a lunar eclipse, and the monkeys panic and go get Tarzan, because he was the one who had an answer for this. He was the one who had an idea about what was going on. And he'd taken that from the black tribes and how they protected their people at night with the fire and the wall of thorns. And so they go and seek out Tarzan in his lair by the big water and bring him back. And his solution is to climb the tallest tree. He's stolen a bow and arrow in this time from the Gormangani tribe. And he climbs the tallest tree and shoots an arrow at Numa, who is attacking the moon. They have another name for the black shape attacking the moon, but I don't remember what it was. And the eclipse ends, and the monkeys believe that Tarzan saved them, saved the moon, because the moon, they need the moon to see at night. Otherwise, the cheetah will destroy them. Cheetahs have better eyes than monkeys, I guess. Tarzan, all the monkeys are calmed down. Tarzan knows that it really wasn't what he did, but he's happy to let them think so. All's well that ends well, sort of thing. So this is how we got to the situation we're in today, where we have a few different tribes, Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and the Gormangani, the blacks, all fighting each other over the moon and the stars. And there is some nonsense going on in, I believe, Amsterdam, probably a few different places. And Jews are being attacked in Amsterdam by Muslims. And there's an article, it's the big headline on the Jerusalem Post, or not on the Jerusalem Post, but the Drudge Report. And the Drudge Report links to articles on the Jerusalem Post and a couple other places. And in the article on the Jerusalem Post, it's all about how victimized the Jews are. But if you read down into the comments, it's all a bunch of Jews congratulating themselves about how they have flooded Europe with blacks and savage Muslims, and that Europe will be destroyed, and that this is what they get for killing 6 million Jews during World War II. Now, we all know the 6 million Jews during World War II is a lie, and a lot of Jews have discovered that this is a lie, and they admit that this is a lie. It's like 270. When you look at all the millions of people who have been killed by communism, it's way worse. So this is all nonsense, and everyone's waking up to it. And it's a lot like monkeys thinking the eclipse is the moon being eaten by a lion. That's what's going on. You're all just cargo cultists, and it's hysterical to watch. And everything you Jews have brought upon yourself, it's all karma. I hate talking about it, but I would much rather just do this, you know? But I don't want to study propaganda. Propaganda is what's happening around me. Propaganda is not what I'm working on with my stuff. Although that's where this is such a good thing for me, because what they did is they've written themselves into a problem where they've got all these different power players attacking Tarzan, wanting a piece of him, right? The animals, Ahmed Zek, Jane, his wife, La of Opar, the Abyssinians, all these people, Albert Werper, Roy Thomas and John Buscema have backed up and given themselves some breathing room to allow themselves to figure out a solution for all of this. I think the solution would be to just have Tarzan come to his senses, but that would be a bit abrupt. I also think that would be a little bit abrupt. In this story, they need breathing room for the audience too, because the audience is just as overwhelmed by all of these factions as anything else. So it's going to be interesting to see what tools they employ to solve this narrative predicament they've gotten themselves into. And I appreciate that. That's the kind of stuff I want to, that's the stuff I want to do. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here with this for you guys. Legacy of a Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox. What would happen to you if you were an incredibly gifted inventor? And first you solved almost all of traumatic injury problems with something called the blue goo. And then you solved mankind's, well, you solved it for yourself, but not for everyone else. Imagine this. You created something called the Micronics interface that you could talk to the internet and have an answer for anything immediately, just mentally. But it doesn't work for anyone else. It only seems to work for you. And anyone else who tries it dies. And the government is determined to take this away from you and use it for themselves. that's the predicament I have created for my characters in Legacy of a Mad Scientist and Legend of Ashley Fox. Novels, audiobooks, wherever. It's all in the description. There's a ton of stuff in the description. The description links keep getting longer and longer. There's so much good stuff in there for you guys. Ashley Fox Last Valkyrie, a PDF comic book, also here for you guys. And so, what's the answer to getting diabetes? If you've got diabetes, let's face it, you're not going to be out killing people. You're not going to be out assassinating people. This is written by a dysgenic Jew who has some diseases that he inherited. And I have real problems with birth defects and diseases, so I can appreciate where they're coming from. All of their problem stems from their behavior and how they handle things. When you're born into a unified society, which is how I grew up in the 80s and 90s, America was a unified Christian society. It's not today, but it was then. It wasn't homogenous, but it may as well have been where I grew up. Everyone was white, everyone was Christian, everyone had the same values. And we had bickering and arguments among ourselves, but we were all fish swimming in the same water. Our water is not the same today. Now today our water is polluted with all kinds of stuff. It's not water anymore. And I'm not making any sense. I'm a little bit exhausted. My brain is fried from writing so much the past few days. I definitely need to take a step back and reassess all the elements I have going on in my story. So yeah. All right, be back tomorrow. See you guys.